Hey everyone, welcome back to Life Turns, the place where real stories twist in ways no one sees coming. If you've ever felt invisible at your own family's celebration, or like love suddenly turned into betrayal, then this story will hit home. Because today, I'm sharing something that still feels like a bruise on my heart. It happened at my sister's wedding, the day my parents kicked me out, and the day I realized I wasn't the one losing everything, they were. It all started a few months before the wedding. My younger sister, Melissa, was getting married, the golden child, the favorite, the one who could do no wrong. I was genuinely happy for her, I really was. But even before the invitations were sent out, I noticed something strange. Every decision was being made without me. The guest list, the decorations, even the seating plan, all done in secret group chats I wasn't part of. Still, I brushed it off. Families get busy, right? Weddings are stressful. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. But deep down, I felt that familiar ache. That quiet reminder that in my family, I was always the extra. The responsible one, the one who worked hard, paid bills, helped my parents with their mortgage, and made sure everything stayed afloat. Yet when it came to love, attention, or even simple appreciation, I was the last one they thought of. A week before the wedding, my mom called me. Her voice was oddly formal, like she was reading from a script. She said, "We've decided to keep things small for the family dinner, so you don't have to come early. Just show up for the ceremony." I remember holding the phone and staring at the wall, confused. I'm her daughter too, I thought. Why was I being told when to arrive at my own sister's wedding like I was a guest? When the big day came, I showed up in my best dress, holding a gift that I spent half my paycheck on. The venue was beautiful, fairy lights, flowers, music, everything looked perfect. But as I walked in, people gave me these polite, pitying smiles. And then I saw it. My sister, glowing in her gown, surrounded by my parents, laughing as if nothing in the world could touch them. I went to hug her, but before I could, my mother stepped between us. "You're late," she said sharply. Everyone around us went silent. I tried to smile it off, saying traffic was bad, but she didn't let it go. "You could have been early if you cared," she said. My heart sank. I didn't understand what I had done wrong. Throughout the ceremony, I tried to stay calm. I smiled for photos, clapped during speeches, and helped where I could. But something felt off. My dad barely looked at me. My mom gave me that cold, rehearsed smile every time I came near. And when it was time for dinner, I noticed there wasn't a seat for me at the family table. I walked around awkwardly, pretending I was just checking on things. My sister saw me and said, "Oh, I thought you'd be sitting with your friends." Friends? I didn't bring anyone, I was family. So I sat alone, in the corner, picking at my plate while everyone else laughed and danced. Then, in the middle of the evening, my mom came over with this expression that made my stomach twist. "Can we talk outside?" she said. I followed her, thinking maybe she wanted to apologize or explain. But the second we stepped out, my dad joined her, arms crossed, face hard. My mom said quietly, "We think it's best if you leave." I blinked, confused. "What? Why?" I asked. My dad said, "You've been causing tension. This is Melissa's day, not yours. People can feel your attitude." My attitude? I was sitting alone in the corner, trying not to cry. I laughed, that helpless, shaky laugh you give when something makes no sense. "You're kicking me out? At my sister's wedding?" My mom looked away. "Don't make a scene. Just go." And just like that, I was out. No explanation. No goodbye. Just the echo of music fading behind me as I stood in the parking lot, holding a wrapped gift that no one even cared to open. I sat in my car for a long time, watching the lights shimmer through my tears. I wanted to hate them, but I just felt empty. How could my own parents humiliate me like that? What had I done to deserve it? I drove home in silence, numb, replaying every word, every look, trying to find a reason. When I got home, the house felt colder than usual. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the stack of bills I had paid for months, the electricity, the water, even part of their mortgage. My name was on everything. I wasn't just their daughter. I was their provider. That night, something broke inside me, but something else woke up too. For the first time in my life, I stopped making excuses for people who hurt me just because they shared my blood. I realized that love isn't proven by sacrifice, it's proven by respect. And in that silence, between heartbreak and anger, I made a decision that would change everything. I picked up my phone, opened my banking app, and began canceling every auto-pay linked to their house. The electricity, the internet, even the water bill, all under my name. I stopped every single one. If they wanted to treat me like I didn't exist, then they could live without my help. But the real twist, the one I didn't see coming, was what happened next. Because when the bank called a week later, what they told me didn't just shock me, it flipped everything I thought I knew about my family upside down. And that's where things took a turn no one expected. Week after that night, my phone rang early in the morning. It was an unknown number, but something in me said to pick it up. "Hello, this is First State Bank," the voice said politely. "We're calling regarding the property on Willow Avenue." That was my parents' address. I frowned. "Yes, what about it?" I asked. The woman on the line hesitated before saying, "We just need to confirm, are you aware that the title of this house is under your name?" I sat up, completely stunned. "What do you mean my name?" "That's my parents' house." She replied, "Ma'am, according to our records, you are the legal owner. It was transferred to your name 5 years ago. We just need your signature for the refinancing paperwork." My heart started pounding. I thought it had to be a mistake. There was no way my parents had put the house under my name, or maybe they did, and I didn't realize it because I'd been helping with payments. But why hadn't they told me? After hanging up, I drove straight to the bank, my mind spinning. The manager printed the documents, and there it was, my name, clear as daylight, listed as the legal owner. Signed, sealed, notarized. My father's signature. My mother's too. My hands trembled as I held the papers. It felt surreal, like I was holding proof that my whole life had been built on half-truths. Suddenly, all those years of paying bills and covering repairs made sense. My parents had used my credit score to refinance the house. They must have put it in my name to get better rates or to hide financial trouble. But then they kept me in the dark. They used me. And when I started asking questions or became inconvenient, they turned on me. The wedding, kicking me out, it wasn't random. It was control. They wanted me quiet and compliant. I drove back home, numb again, but this time not with pain, with realization. I walked into the house, looked around, and everything felt different. The pictures on the wall, the furniture, even the smell of my mom's cooking, that still lingered, it all felt like a lie. This was my house, but they made me feel like a stranger in it. That evening, my phone buzzed. It was my sister, Melissa. I hesitated before answering. Her voice was light, almost casual. "Hey. Mom and Dad said you've been acting crazy. What's going on?" That word, crazy, made my stomach twist. "They kicked me out of your wedding, Mel," I said quietly. She paused, then said, "You were being dramatic. You made everyone uncomfortable." I laughed bitterly. Right. I was uncomfortable because they humiliated me in front of everyone. There was silence. Then she said something that broke me even more. "Look, you know how they are. Just let it go. Don't make this harder for them." Harder for them? I was speechless. My voice cracked as I said, "Do you even know they put the house in my name?" She hesitated. "What? No, that's not true." "It is," I said firmly. "I saw the documents. I own this place. I've been paying for everything. They've been lying to both of us. She hung up. Just like that. No apology, no concern, nothing. It was like I had just shattered the pretty illusion she wanted to keep living in. That night, I sat on the porch, staring at the stars, and for the first time, I didn't cry. I felt something else, power. For years, I thought I needed their approval to feel worthy. But now, I saw it clearly, I had been the one holding everything together. They needed me. I didn't need them. The next day, I packed a small bag and decided to stay elsewhere for a few days. I needed space. When I got back that weekend, my parents were sitting in the living room. The atmosphere was tense, thick with unspoken anger. My mom said sharply, "The bills haven't been paid. The lights went off yesterday." I didn't even flinch. "Yeah," I said, "because they were under my name. And I stopped paying." My dad's face turned red. "You can't just do that. This is our house." I looked him straight in the eye and said, "No, it's mine." I placed the bank documents on the coffee table. He stared at them, his mouth slightly open, but no words came out. My mom's face went pale. "You wouldn't dare," she whispered. I smiled, not cruelly, but calmly. "You already did, 5 years ago." There was silence. Just the sound of the clock ticking. My dad rubbed his forehead, muttering something about family loyalty and respect. But all I could think was how easily they used those words to control me. Respect, to them, meant obedience. Loyalty meant silence. I told them I wasn't throwing them out, not yet. But I wanted honesty. Why had they done this? Why use my name? My dad sighed, finally dropping the act. "We were in debt," he said. "Your credit was good. The bank wouldn't approve it under ours. It was just paperwork, nothing more." My mom added, "We plan to tell you someday." I shook my head, trying not to scream. Someday? After what? After I lost everything because of you? They said they were sorry, but it sounded hollow. Like an apology rehearsed for convenience, not guilt. That's when I realized they weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry I found out. That night, I lay in bed and couldn't sleep. Every memory replayed in my head every time they told me I was ungrateful, dramatic, too emotional. They'd made me doubt myself for years while I was the one saving them. So I made another decision. Not out of revenge, but self-respect. I went to the bank the next morning and changed the mailing address for all property documents. I redirected every notice, every statement, every record, to me. My home. My rules. Days turned into weeks. My parents barely spoke to me. My sister texted once, asking if I was done being stubborn. I didn't reply. I wasn't stubborn, I was finally free. But one evening, when I came home from work, there was an envelope slipped under the door. It was from my parents. I opened it, and inside was a handwritten note. Just one sentence. "You'll regret this. Family is forever." I stared at the words for a long time, and for a moment, a wave of guilt washed over me. Family is forever, but love isn't unconditional when it comes with manipulation. And I didn't know it yet, but that note would be the start of the final, shocking turn, the one that would test everything I thought I believed about forgiveness, family, and freedom. Because what happened next would leave me questioning whether walking away was really winning, or losing everything that ever mattered. After that letter, days passed in silence. My parents didn't call. My sister stopped texting. The house felt both peaceful and hollow, like it was waiting for something to happen. And deep down, I knew this wasn't over. When a family breaks, it doesn't just end with words on paper, it ends with truths clawing their way to the surface. A week later, I got a knock on my door. When I opened it, I saw my dad standing there. He looked smaller somehow, like the weight of everything had finally settled on him. His voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. "Can we talk?" he asked. For a moment, I wanted to slam the door. But a small part of me, the daughter still craving closure, said yes. He walked in slowly, glancing around the house like it was no longer his. He sat down and rubbed his hands together. "Your mom's been sick," he said quietly. My heart tightened. "What do you mean sick?" He explained that she'd been having chest pains, probably from stress. I felt a lump form in my throat. I wanted to be angry, but the word mom still pulled at something inside me. He looked at me and said, "I know we messed up. I know we hurt you. But your mom, she's not as strong as she used to be. This fight is killing her." I sighed, trying to steady my voice. "You kicked me out of my sister's wedding, Dad. You used my name to save your house. And now you want me to just forget it?" He didn't argue. For once, he didn't defend himself. He just said, "I don't want forgiveness. I just want peace." That hit me. Because peace wasn't something I'd felt in a long time. Not in that house. Not even after cutting ties. We sat there in silence for a while. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You know, we didn't mean for you to carry so much. We just thought you were stronger." I almost laughed, but instead, I said, "That's the problem, Dad. You thought strength meant silence." That night, I drove to see my mom. When I entered her room, she looked surprised. Her eyes were tired, red from crying. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered, "You shouldn't have come." I said, "I came because I had to." She started crying, real tears this time. "I thought if we kept you close, we'd never lose control," she said. "But we did. We lost you long before that wedding." I sat by her side, and for the first time, she reached for my hand. I felt her grip tremble as she said, "I'm sorry. Not because we got caught. But because we forgot you were our daughter first, not our lifeline." I cried then, not out of anger, but exhaustion. Years of resentment melted into something else, grief. Because I realized forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It just stops it from controlling you. For the next few weeks, I helped them where I could, not with money, but with presence. I visited. I talked. I set boundaries. The house was still legally mine, but I decided not to sell it. Instead, I let them stay, under one condition, honesty. No secrets. No manipulation. At first, it was awkward. My dad avoided eye contact, my mom overcompensated with forced smiles. But slowly, something shifted. They began to see me not as the useful daughter, but as a person, someone who had her own wounds, her own worth. One day, while cleaning out an old drawer, my mom found a letter, one I'd written years ago as a teenager. It said, "I just want to feel like I belong." She handed it to me and said, "I should have listened then." I couldn't speak. I just nodded, holding back tears. Time didn't magically fix us, but it softened the edges. My sister eventually reached out too. She admitted that after the wedding, she realized how wrong it was. "I just didn't want to believe our parents could do that," she said. We met for coffee, and though it was awkward, it was a start. Months later, the house, my house, became a different kind of home. Not perfect, not storybook, but honest. My parents finally started paying their own bills, learning responsibility in their 60s. Sometimes irony has its own sense of justice. And me? I found peace in letting go of expectations. I stopped needing their approval and started building a life that didn't depend on their love to feel valid. But here's the real twist, the one that changed me forever. A year later, I got a letter from the same bank. It said that when the house was first transferred, there had been an overpayment error on my loan account. Long story short, I was owed money. A lot of it. Enough to pay off the mortgage completely. When I told my parents, my dad looked at me in disbelief. My mom started crying again, but this time, it wasn't guilt. It was relief. It's like life gave us a second chance, she whispered. I smiled faintly. No, Mom. It gave me one. I used part of that money to renovate the house, not as their daughter, but as the owner who finally took control of her own story. I painted the walls lighter, replaced the old photos, and hung one new frame in the hallway. It wasn't a family portrait, it was a small quote that said, "Peace doesn't mean forgetting. It means finally breathing without pain." And every time I walk past it, I remember that night at the wedding, the humiliation, the loneliness, the betrayal. But I don't feel bitterness anymore. I feel gratitude. Because sometimes, life breaks you just enough to show you where you truly belong. To everyone listening right now, maybe you've been where I was. Maybe your family made you feel small, unseen, or used. But hear me, walking away doesn't make you heartless. Setting boundaries doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you free. Because the truth is, family isn't about shared blood, it's about shared respect. And once you stop chasing their approval, you'll realize you were enough all along. So yeah, they kicked me out of that wedding, thinking they were teaching me a lesson. But in the end, I was the one who learned something they never did, that strength isn't about silence. It's about speaking your truth, even when your voice shakes. And when the world turns against you, remember this, life turns too.